The Pistons are not going to make the play-in. I'll tell you this right now. Get rid of this guy, trade this guy. This guy sucks. They're going to struggle. Surprise. Like, for people that have these expectations that are unrealistic, you're the reason your heart's being broken. As long as players get better, as long as there's progress, I'm okay.
Jeff, the Pistons' preseason struggles continue. Be the voice of reason here.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Well, let's just start, guys. It's preseason. It's preseason. I mean, this is probably, I get there are concerns. I mean, the one thing, I'll tell you some of my concerns just to start it off. One, they have been shooting a ton of threes. And I don't know if that's a preseason thing and that's the offense they're going to run. They've been outscored in the paint in every game they've played. And that speaks also to the size. I know Isaiah Stewart, he's been playing really well. And he's been shooting, what he shoot, 4 for 10 from 3. So he can shoot too. And again, that's something he's been adding this offseason. So I'm excited for Isaiah Stewart. But Duren's going to be an important piece this year because you saw, I mean, the guy's a walking double-double. If he can just get the 10 points, he's guaranteed 10-plus rebounds. And that's one of the positives. There's a lot of positives to take away, although they haven't won in preseason. And I get Cade has been struggling, but again, it's Cade Cunningham. If people want to bring up that Jalen Green is hooping in preseason, that's fine. But last year, he was struggling in the regular season until the last part of the year. So I don't want to hear it. I'm going to wait to the regular season to make all these different proclamations of get rid of this guy, trade this guy sucks. The preseason is not the time to do that, by the way. And Dwayne Casey, nobody should hold him accountable. This is not his job this year is to develop these players and win some games. You got to improve. I get that. But people really have expectations, or at least having these insane expectations because of, this is my theory, because of what they've seen with the Lions and Tigers. The Pistons are not going to make the play-in. I'll tell you this right now. They could, and if you go to LCA and talk to those players, they'd convince you that we're going to try and make the play-in. But the reality is, they're just not ready. The team is, most of your rotation is 20 to 22-year-olds. You have Bojan Bogdanovic, who's actually looked pretty good. He can shoot. Marvin Bagley's going to be out the first couple weeks of the season. They're going to struggle. Surprise. I mean, for anybody who thought this team would be, in the playoff picture in the middle to end of this season, you're just wrong. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be games like last night against Memphis where they go down, they claw back, and then they lose. You want to see them compete. That was the number one word that's been spoken about. Troy Weaver, Dwayne Casey, even amongst the players, compete. Did you hear playoffs? No. I heard compete. They're going to want to stay in these games. And they haven't done that, some of these preseason games. But again, it's preseason. It's essentially an extended practice. That's what Dwayne Casey said from his own mouth. Like, this is an opportunity for these guys to get run, get into basketball, more into basketball shape, and just get reps. Go shoot. For me, I'm not going to take little. I'm taking little to anything from preseason. I'm waiting till the regular season. They're not making the playoffs. They're going to be competing, and that's all that matters. As long as, if you told me, Jeff, by the end of the season, the Pistons win 30 games, but Sadiq's improved, Cade's improved, Jaden Ivey looks like a legitimate player, Jalen Duren looks like a steal, Isaiah Stewart is turned into this guy who can do it all, can switch among multiple positions, which he's been able to do, shoot threes. I'll take that. Marvin Bagley comes back, he looks good. I'll take that. And then you walk into the offseason with all this money to spend, guys are getting older, you're going to have another probably top 10 pick. That's all you ask for. Like, for people that have these expectations that are unrealistic, you're the reason your heart's being broken. And that's the reality. I'm not sweating it, Adam. I'm really not. I've been enjoying watching this preseason. I think it's been good just to watch these guys. They have to get used to playing together. Number one, the famous quote in the NBA, if you want to lose games, play young guards. They have two guys, one in his second year, one in his rookie year, playing at your point guard and two guard position. So, I mean, what do you expect out of those two? They got to learn to play. There's going to be a lot of turnovers. You can see that already amongst Cade and Jaden. And they got to figure it out. I mean, you've seen Cade last night play a lot of off-ball. I mean, do you want him playing off-ball as much as he did? No, but I don't think that's going to be the case. There's going to be a balance that's going to have to be learned amongst Jaden and Cade. So until then, I'm not panicking at him. It's only preseason, and we've seen this in the past. Even last season, Cade didn't even play in the preseason. It didn't matter. He struggled early in the season. This is an opportunity for him to get warmed up before the regular season. That's all it is.
Let me ask you this.
No panic. You're good.
Let me ask you this.
You're good.
Jalen Duren.
He's a physical specimen, man. I mean, he really is.
He has it. And I don't mean that lightly. He's got to run at the 5, 20, 22. minutes a game to start the year.
Yeah,
and eventually be the starter.
He's going to take Nerlens Noel's job.
And then Stewart, we can agree, is the 4. He's more of a 4 than he is a 5 anyway, so it kind of works out for Detroit.
Yeah.
Now you're probably going to want Bogdanovich out there and all this stuff, sure. But walk me through, I don't need the whole team's rotation, but specifically the Duren, Stewart, Bogdanovich. What does that situation look like? Is it as simple as, hey, they're going to run a small unit out there and probably have Duren out there as the one big man? Or maybe they run a whole smaller unit with Isaiah Stewart at the 5. How does this work? Is my question, especially with Bagley out now for a few weeks.
I think the future is going to consist of, like you said, Isaiah Stewart at the 4, Jalen Duren at the 5. That's probably the future front court, or at least you would imagine it would be now that Isaiah can shoot. But how it'll start is Beydoun starting at that 4 position. You saw it last night. I think he does start in the regular season, at least now that Marvin Bagley's out. And it just provides a veteran presence. You get more spacing with Jaden and Cade, which is something I've advocated for. And you have Isaiah Stewart at the 5 who can also shoot. Now, the only problem with that is size. You give up a lot of points in the paint. And I know, just to address on WoodwardSports.com, my guy MP, are you not allowed to play defense in the preseason, Jeff? Well, yeah, they've struggled. But that's a lot of just figuring out their lineups.
Every game in the preseason is like 136, 112. I mean, what are we saying here?
Well, specifically with the Pistons,
112, 124, 116.
They have to figure out a realistic rotation. I think Dwayne is talked about that too, getting to the regular season, like who he wants, where, and how many minutes they're going to be playing. So I'm not going to base how they play defense. I know they're running this switch everything philosophy, which we'll see. They give up a lot of points in the paint because of that. But for the rotation, Adam, it's going to be Isaiah at the 4 and Duren at the 5. Now, that'll be down the road. I think that's the ideology you want to see a year from now, maybe late of this season. But they're going to start Beydoun early. I mean, he's the vet. He's a piece you can plug anywhere, and he can just fit seamlessly. So that's going to be who starts in the beginning of the season. But who knows? Down the line, I can smell a Isaiah Stewart and Duren front court, no doubt. They just got to get Duren more acclimated. He fouled out yesterday. Like that's Duren's biggest thing. Is as great as he is defensively, he's got to get those fouls under control, because it seems like he had that beautiful block, by the way, at the rim. But other than that, he's just fouling too much, and he did that at college. So that's something he's got to overcome. But once he gets acclimated, he's going to be starting. Like, he's got all the talent, but he is only 18 years old, guys.
You mentioned the front court. You mentioned the front court. Let's go to the back court. You mentioned you want to lose, start 2 young guards. Ivey, Duren, you have Saddiq Bey. How does that dynamic work out? How does it play out? Along with Killian Hayes, who looks hungry, more aggressive, yada, 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 everything we've heard in preseason about this kid. There's only one basketball.
Yep.
There is only a certain amount of minutes. You can't play them all at the same time because it just doesn't make sense. They don't fit. They don't play well with each other. You need more spot-up shooters when when Cade Cunningham or Jaden Ivey are on the court. So that is an interesting conversation that I want to have, because what are we looking at? 32, 34 minutes a night for Cade?
Yeah, no question.
28, 26 minutes a night for the rookie Ivey? Maybe more?
Maybe closer to 30, yeah.
So then where's Killian and all these other players that are going to play the guard position? You need people around Ivey, around Cade, who can just stand, create space, and be ready for a shot. That's not how this team is built right now. Now, do I think it's how it will be built in a few years? Sure. But right now, I'm looking around. Bogdanovich is nice. Mm-hmm. Stewart's nice. But those are 2 players, and you're not going to win in the NBA with 6-7 players.
Right. No, and I think Killian's future role, obviously, I mean, you talk about the talent they have on the bench now. I mean, Marvin Bagley, once he gets back, I'm talking about that. Right now, they're struggling a little bit. You don't have Marvin. But on top of that, let's just assume Marvin gets back in a couple weeks. Look at the talent Killian has to work with. I mean, Marvin Bagley, Alec Burks, you have Isaiah Livers, and then you have Killian Hayes, of course, who I think will be your 7th man, maybe your 6th, if he proves he can be that aggressive. But there's a lineup, and there's a scenario where you're going to see Killian, Jaden, and Cade. Cade playing the 3. I mean, he had 15, 20 pounds of muscle. That's a lineup they can roll with. And yes, guys have to play off ball, and Jaden's kind of struggled shooting the ball. But that's something we kind of figured that coming in. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. He's a rookie. But you're going to see Killian in a lot of different lineups. I mean, the versatility Killian brings, you can legitimately play him in any lineup. You can play him with Cade and Jaden, or you can strictly have him come off the bench with the bench unit and have him, Alec Burks, Livers, Bagley, and Duren once Bagley gets back. So there's a lot of different situations you can put Killian in. I think he's going to be one of those guys that you can rely on in terms of his defense, his passing ability, his basketball IQ. Now, the offensive ability we're seeing in the preseason, we'll see how it can translate. But there's a lot of intangibles that Killian brings that the Pistons are going to need this year. But he's going to be playing a lot of minutes off the bench, I'll tell you that.
Let me ask you this. You got 7 and 12 out of Jalen Duren. I don't think you'll ever get that out of Noel. I don't think you'll get that on most nights.
I'm telling you.
Really from anybody outside of Duren at the 5. Now, Isaiah Stewart, I mean, his ability to shoot the three-point ball has just been so nice to see. But he took 10 three-pointers last night.
And that's preseason.
I don't want to see that.
No, I think that was more so
I know, but
just...
he was 4 of 10. I mean, he made 40%.
Yeah.
Give me that all day. But that is so odd. But I think every day that goes by, he's becoming more and more of a 4. Mm-hmm. And I think there is multiple rotations where him and Duren are on the court together. Not often, but at moments when they need to go big. And then most of the game, one or the other will be out on the court in a small ball kind of offense. Am I missing the ball on that? Or no, it's probably what we should expect from this team.
I think and I'll start with Nerlens Noel, there's a good chance that you see moves by the deadline, specifically with Alec Burks or Nerlens Noel. Those guys could be on the move again. And so with Duren, that's why I'm saying right now I'm going to plant my flag. I think Duren takes those minutes from Nerlens Noel, because Nerlens was supposed to be the bridge, because we didn't see Jalen Duren play, obviously, other than Summer League. So people were just unsure. Like, is he going to, see time in the G League? Is this a guy who's going to be able to play right away? He's the youngest player in the draft. He's very raw. Nah, he can play. And you talked about his rebounding ability. The guy's if he can just get to 10 points, he's a walking double-double. I mean, he's a walking 10 rebound guy. Now, can he keep the fouls down? That's the biggest question. But no, I think you're onto the right track. I think Duren's a guy who's going to be able to, especially with this team who gives up so many points in the paint. They did that last year. He provides a lot of things the Pistons need, which is size, athleticism. You saw what happened when Marvin was traded here, having a lob threat, and now you have Duren, who's even more athletic.
If I told you I would sacrifice all the wins in the world, year one, to ensure at least Duren gets 25, 26 minutes a night. Is that worth it? Because I do. I do think it's worth it. And honestly, I think he's better for the team than any big man they have right now.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Well,
I think
he runs the court, Jeff.
He does.
He just does. He runs the court. He is every guard's favorite prototypical type of big man. No, he can't shoot the three. No, he doesn't have a complete arsenal in the paint, but he's a rookie. They took him young.
Right.
He's not even 19? I mean...
Yeah, not even 19 yet.
That kid is built like a tank. You want to talk about body structure? Looks like Dwight Howard for all intensive purposes.
That was kind of his comparison as well. Physically.
I'm loving it. I want to give him every opportunity to shine. I'm not worried about the wins and losses. Show me Cade taking the next step, Ivey being what we expect him to be, Duren becoming more than what most people would even think he could be. I'm all for it, man. I see it. I can definitely see it. You can buy me in when I can see it. When I can't see it, like Alavila and the Tigers, you lose me. When I can't see it, like Dan Campbell, you lose me.
And that's a great point, because for me, that's all I'm basing this season off of. Like, people, I think they get lost and really, because expectations to me don't always mean wins and losses. I have expectations for the players. I expect these players to get better, and that falls on Dwayne Casey. Like, that's your job, Dwayne. Like, as well as, yes, you got to put these guys in the best position. You got to win some games. Develop these players. Like, that's why Dwayne's here. So people that want to criticize, X, Y, and Z, whatever it is about Dwayne, the number one thing is, if you end the season with 30 wins, yeah, I mean, you could talk about, well, Dwayne, I mean, we only have 30 wins. Did players get better? That's the question you have to ask, because if players got better, you got to give credit somewhere. Is it Dwayne? Is it the assistant coaches? You have Rashard Lewis now. Like, who is it? And again, that's coaching. That's what matters. So for me, as long as players get better, as long as there's progress, I'm okay. because there's going to be an opportunity where maybe this summer where Troy's going to pursue that big fish or attempt to trade for a guy, a marquee all-star, whoever it is, to kind of put the cherry on top of this rebuild. So I'm chilling. I'm cool. I'm excited for the regular season to start. They open up against Paulo Banchero in the Orlando Magic next week. I will be there, by the way. So if you guys are down there, come visit. Woodward Pistons will be down there. But that's really all it is. I'm just kind of grabbing all this preseason, Adam, just throwing it in the trash and lighting it on fire. It's a fresh start for the regular season. Now, if you see some of those consistent problems appear, we could talk about them. But preseason, I take little from. I mean, you saw, like you said, Isaiah Stewart shot 10 threes. Like, that's an opportunity for him just to get reps. Like, I don't look at that as, well, Isaiah Stewart's taking too many threes. Like, zero I'm taking from this preseason. All eyes are set next week against the Orlando Magic.